Very good. Okay. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this inner reconciliation and money call. This is a kind of a continuation of one we did last week, so feel free to watch that. I encourage that actually. That's on YouTube on the Inner Reconciliation YouTube channel, innerreconciliation.com/YouTube. And we're going to jump right into it today. Just a little couple quick overviews here so that there's a little bit of context and a little bit of preparation so we can kind of dive right into the exercises. So let me get this going here. So inner reconciliation, in case you're coming across this live, inner reconciliation is a process we use. It's really about creating a healthy space inside of yourself to uncover and explore our emotions without judgment. This helps to resolve any tension and conflict. That freed up energy can then direct itself in a positive way. So money and anxiety. Today we're going to direct that process specifically around the subject of money and even more specifically the stress, anxiety, and fear often associated with it, which was something that resonated with a lot of people when we were doing the more general money exploration last time. So today's goal is to give you a feeling-based, direct experience of how this process can be used to help with this issue of money and anxiety, and really to get feedback from you via the chat as we go through this together to help direct the flow of things. Because as you'll see, this is a very personal process, and getting the feedback from the people I'm working with helps direct the flow of things. To experience that the answer, this is also to experience that the answers we get from inside ourselves show us what's needed, not what we think we are supposed to do. So I want this to be based on the feedback from when we start looking at something. You will notice when you do this type of process that you get your own sort of feeling-based guidance of where to go next. It often has very little to do with what your mind thinks this is supposed to be about. You know what? I'm not on screen. There we go. Um, no connection sometimes, even seemingly as far as your mind is concerned, to the actual subject matter. So you may be working on money and suddenly these other events of your life start coming up, images, things that don't seem to be really connected to money in any way. That doesn't matter, the fact that they don't seem connected to your mind. We're going to learn to, as we do these calls and explore inner reconciliation more, to begin to trust the process from inside ourselves. You know, it's a cliche thing, get the answers from inside yourself, but okay, how do I do that? Then we start looking for somebody else to how to do that. So we want this to be an internally based process to help you actually feel what that's all about. So today's goal is not to give you a temporary process that distracts you from stress and anxiety and gives you the illusion that everything's fine because we just put a nice picture in our mind for a couple seconds, or to be a process purely about how to create more money, which is a significant subject and trap when doing any work related to this. Believe it or not, there's people out there with a lot more money than you or I, and they have more anxiety and stress about it, and vice versa. So the immediate assumption that the solution to all feelings and anxiety and stress around money is simply to have more is not going to be useful, at least for the process of actually exploring these feelings. It's not a money creation process as far as that's the actual intention of the day. There can be times where that's totally appropriate, and you want to incorporate various things into your life, including both practical aspects of money and budgeting and all of that stuff. But I just want to be specific and pointed about what we're doing here today so that when you're actually doing something, just like working on a specific muscle, right? When you're working on your arms, or even more specifically a bicep or something, you want to be doing that with the right form and the right tools and strategy behind it. So we want to allow this time to be purely about exploring your feeling world, providing space, support, assistance so it can be improved. Only good can come from that. There's there's nothing bad that can happen about helping the process of internal anxiety and stress and where that energy might need to move. Exactly what is going to happen, how it does, how it moves, what you experience is unique to each person, and it's not to say that any specific thing is supposed to happen by doing that. Um, that's a difference between this and some other exercises or practices you might do that might be specifically about, okay, this is about wealth creation, whether that's an inner work or an external thing, right? So we want this to be about what it is. So let's do a little check-in first, a little exercise of sorts preemptively. There can be resistance to working on or even exploring this subject in the first place, for a variety of reasons, actually. So let's do a guided exercise first to check in with ourselves and make sure we get to a place of agreement about all of this. So what I want you to do is, if you're able to, close your eyes and just take a breath that you have your attention on. And I just want you to check in and see what your overall feeling is around even exploring this subject at all. And here's what I'd like to kind of pose to ourselves internally here. Depending on your background, you might have various ideas about money, inner work, how this all works. You know, if I let go of it all, then money appears. Or if I do this specific technique in the right way, if I visualize and focus in the correct way, this and this is supposed to happen. All these different things that may have a model within us. The point of today is not to question any of those, but sometimes whatever our view of things happens to be can create a resistance or create a sense in us. For example, the goal of, if I'm doing inner work around money, the point is to quote unquote not care about it. And then there's a part of you that actually does care and wants to be responsible and understands how the world works and can be very resistant to that. There's a part of you that may feel like even looking at the subjects of anxiety, stress, what your body might be feeling, is like implanting, that's looking at negative things. That's going to create more negativity. So you just want to explore what might be going on for you. And I want to pose that all we're doing is taking a look inside to see what's actually going on with us and if we can help support it. If there is stress and anxiety, even if it's unconscious, it's not going to hurt us to see what's already there. We're not trying to implant anything. We're not going to like generate stress in the system and focus on it. We're not here to say money is good or bad, or trying to get super wealthy, which in some people may cause resistance. You're not supposed to care or think about money at all because everything's just supposed to flow. Whatever you have going on as your belief systems or ideas is fine. We're checking in to see if they're creating any tension or resistance and making sure we get kind of an agreement that what we're here to do is okay with our own makeup, our own body, our own system and everything. That what you're here to explore is to explore the feelings that are already there. So please give me feedback if you're getting anything, so that if there is some work to be done here or some things to possibly address, we can do that. Otherwise, I'll just move on and kind of jump in a bit. Okay, we've got some feedback coming in. Some parts are still nervous. Okay, now, if things are nervous and say they don't want you to explore, let's also kind of communicate here that the essence of this process is not to like push through, is not to force things to come up. The word I use and the posture about it is more of an invitation. So if things are not okay to explore for some reason, they don't have to come up. This is not an aggressive exploration. If something in you says, no, not this, not yet, that's okay. We kind of are going to honor that. Someone else is saying they feel blocks and resistance of sorts. So see what that sort of posture does. That the exploration is more of an invitation. That whatever is there is allowed to come up. It's allowed to not come up. Someone said that input helped me. Very good. We are not here to work through resistance, right? The resistance is a term we're giving for another feeling that's coming up, which is to be just as respected as any other in this particular approach. Does that make sense? So let the resistance, what you're calling resistance, which is just another feeling, another communication coming from the body and the system. Yes, you too are part of the information. If you feel like something is not okay, I'm here to work with you as well. Maybe the resistance itself is what sort of needs the attention and the support. It's not a thing to be overcome so you can get to what you'd call the real stuff or anything like that. Okay, well, someone said that helped, so I'll assume that that's what we've got and move forward here. So now, as we start to explore our feelings, including those feelings of resistance, remember that your feelings, they're right here and they're right now, at whatever level of intensity or quality they have. You don't need a special process to feel what you're feeling. Let go of any of ideas. Oh, I don't know if I'm really feeling it. I don't know if this is, I'm getting deeply into it enough. Those are just thoughts about what you're feeling. What you're feeling could be super subtle. That is what it is. And it's just as valid and valuable. I am just checking, sorry, to make sure I am still recording. Okay, very good. Now, because this process is feeling-based and exploratory, can y'all see that? In real time, remember, it's not dependent on any belief systems or models about money. We're welcome to have whatever we have, and hopefully it serves you. So you're probably in this zone a little bit as you started exploring the answer to that check-in. Now, just direct your attention purely to the feeling of what your body is feeling right now. We want a feeling level without the emotional overhead of the charged subject. This is familiar to those of you who've been on any of the other calls. So no need to make this complicated. Just literally put your attention on what your body is feeling. It's free to scan. If all of your attention is just jumping to your right arm, that's fine. Just notice that you have the ability to direct your attention somewhere. And if the mind is chattering or commenting on about it, okay. Your attention is simply more interested on what the body is feeling than it is on that commentary. Commentary doesn't need to stop. There's a thunderstorm going on behind me, which, by the way, if power cuts out, that's what happened. If I think in my mind, well, that noise and that stuff is going on, so I can't focus on this. Everything else needs to calm down in order for me to simply put my attention somewhere. Well, then we're a total victim of circumstance, right? But you're not. Your attention can simply be on the body. And whatever it's doing is okay. You're not trying to make something happen to it. You may notice ways it responds, and that's good. It does respond to your attention, just like everything does. Okay, now take a deep breath and have the attention be on that breath as it flows through the body. Now, similar to last time, we're simply going to introduce something into that space. So, we're going to bring up the word money. We're going to introduce the subject. You're basically just staying in the space you are, and I'm introducing that idea to you. Now, specifically for today, we're going to say, where do you feel contracted, really wanting or needing, or even outright stressed or anxious about money in your life? Having your needs met, creating more freedom, basic necessity, bills to pay. You're just inviting up that, let's call it direction. And I encourage you to explore this openly, even if you think you're fine, and especially if your mind at any point said, oh, I don't need to do that, everything's cool. If everything's cool, then what's the harm? Just verify that. Now, as you do that, just have the intention to stay connected to what the body is feeling and maintain some of that awareness on this physically grounded, even if it doesn't feel like it's grounded, just inner space. Because it's very easy for the mind to latch on to the different aspects of this that pop up. Oh yeah, this bill and this thing, and now it enters into that universe. Even if that's happening, just keep reminding yourself, take another breath to continue to be connected to what your body is feeling and what the system is actually going through as the mind picks up on these different ideas and different possible situations in your life. Remember that whatever it's thinking about isn't, even if it's a situation that's in your life, the body, the system, the emotions that are going on, that's what's actually here now. And directing our attention there is what can actually assist in the situation. So what's happening? What's going on with the body? Are there tensions? Where are they? You're simply kind of observing and exploring here without making a big deal about them, by the way. Not what does this mean? And okay, there's tension in my shoulder. That means this. Just you're staying connected to that and being aware of it. Your overall energy level, what kind of thoughts, what direction are those thoughts going in? And if you're able to do it without kind of losing your vibe completely, please give me a little bit of feedback on that. Sadness came up. Okay, good. When you notice something that we call sadness or tension or stress, good. Not in the stomach. Yeah. Yeah. Keep directing the attention specifically onto what the actual experience is before our mind calls it sadness. So, not there's anything wrong with sadness, but yeah, the actual physical knot in the stomach. Your sadness is different than my sadness. Right? So there's knots in the stomach. Uh, and when you feel a physical sensation like that, you're just going to direct the attention there. Perhaps breathe into it. Tears came up. Yep. And I'd encourage us to even relax ideas we have about specific body movements, behaviors. Like tears coming up is like there's an immediate association with certain meanings and words, but let it just be exactly what it is. Let the experience be this particular experience. A wave of heat, weight in my stomach, back, Stuff is happening, clearly. Now, let's give all of that which is coming up some space. Again, this is from the last time, and it's consistent with all of this type of work. It's very easy to see these as problems, things you start latching onto, looking for meaning in. I want you to kind of take a step back, kind of take your claws off of what's happening. Allow this to happen without meaning that you disconnect from what you're feeling. But you'll notice there's sort of an internal movement of sorts where a feeling comes up and it's easy to go right into, basically escape it into the mind, to describe it. Okay, this is that, and it kind of, here's the pie chart picture of everything. It's doing that to disconnect. Because you don't need to explain the feeling, it's your feeling. There's another type of movement that just maintains the attention on what's being experienced. It's not trying to disconnect from it in any way. And in fact, when I say increase the space, some other terms, step back, just a feeling of expansion, permission for that feeling, these sensations to be there. Some of you may literally feel your attention and almost your universe sort of contract into the feeling. You'll notice that as you sort of expand the space, you can actually have movement that goes deep in, feels like it's moving, zooming into the feeling itself, while simultaneously you're aware of the whole process. These are all different descriptors to help connect to this way of being with feeling. Remember, feeling actually is a healing thing. The more you do this, this is enormously powerful. As I've said before and simply copied and pasted here, don't let the simplicity of this fool you. You could have thought about the stress and anxiety and the money stuff in your life for 25 years without ever just providing the space for that wave of heat. Who knows what that ever meant or means? But the fact that it's coming forward and moving and you're staying connected to it is a very powerful and healing process. It's like opening the steam valve. It's a communication that's happening. Okay, I'll probably stop the slides here, and this is now going to be based more on your feedback, where the energy takes us here. So, whatever's going on with the body, the mind, particular situations that may be arising, if you were able to, that's also something also you can give me feedback on. What's happening for you? What's coming up as you expand that space? Notice if it's become more of an experience-based, let's say, journey happening than it is a notice how, so somebody says stomach feels bloated, a ballooning sensation. Notice how different it is to be in this world of what the responses are versus describing the ideas, the situation, the stress around money. We used that as the agent to bring up this feeling. But notice it's not hard. People say I can't meditate and oh, I always go into my head. You're doing this now, and you're doing it very well simply by having the attention be on what the response is. Somebody said the image of letting go of my claws on the feeling was very helpful. Yes, that often happens so quickly that we don't realize we're doing it. So notice if, just kind of do a scan and see if there's any feeling, any experience, any, I'm going to say story, not in a dismissive way, but just a particular thing happening in your life right now that could be very money-centric. I have one. I have something that just happened. And it's easy to feel this sense of, what do I do? Okay, how do we fix this? And you're relaxing that agenda, that sense of kind of grabbing onto that experience or that sensation. Taking your hands off of it and giving room for that energy, just giving it space to either rest or move or expand, but we're not telling it what to do. Some of you have specific physical things again, like your neck feels stiff, waves of heat moving around the body. Very good. And so maintain a similar thing where your attention now goes to what the body is experiencing, those waves of heat. And you are staying on them, like you're tracking them. You're paying attention to them, like you're watching a child of yours playing or something. You're very present. But you're not telling them what to do. And now I would also throw out the invitation to what you are experiencing, to say if there is anything else that it wants to reveal to you, that it feels is significant, that you're willing to listen. Take a deep breath and relax the sense of trying to find meaning or direction with this process. The energy inside you itself is the only thing that could possibly have the answer. It sounds sort of basic, but if your neck is stiff, your neck knows, not in the way our mind thinks about it, but your neck knows what's going on. So listening to that part of your body would be having your attention on it. You might find it naturally wants to move a certain way, or there's a flow of energy, or there's some sort of communication. You feel just even that intention, that direction of inquiring that way. Okay, I feel this. I'm going to put my attention on it and listen to what it has to tell me versus, oh, stiff neck, go on the internet. What are the cures? The internet article wasn't written on your neck and your emotional situation. So as you've posed that into the mix, please let me know what you're experiencing. Let me know if you're getting some type of response or what you might call an answer from that invitation to, oh, someone just got a release. 2 people release incredible lightning. Excellent. Notice the simplicity of sorts in it. You were not going in there trying to release the energy, meaning trying to get rid of it, trying to do something to make it release. You put your attention on it and you listened to it. Almost relief from attention. Sometimes even when we say put our attention on something, our impulse is to kind of latch onto it without really realizing it. Okay, that's really good feedback. Thanks. So now take a deep breath and reintroduce that question. Where do I feel or experience stress, concern, wanting, a feeling of lack, a feeling of craving, a feeling of insecurity around money? So returning back to that original um, subject matter. And you're simply listening again. Very important. You're not, okay, let's actually take a second and see if there's a part of you that's now like, okay, did that fix it? Is the stress gone? Am I better? Is the money going to show up? Relax that. That's not a useful approach. You're actually shifting the relationship with yourself, not doing a thing that's supposed to make a result happen. That's like doing one push-up and being like, okay, am I in shape now? Right? This is actually cultivating a healthy lifestyle, right? As you mentioned, money tension came up again. Very good. It may continue to do that. And so as we return, that's why we're kind of returning back to that. And again, we're not assuming there's more layers of stuff. I'm not giving you a model saying, okay, now do this, and when you get to these 20 layers around money or something, you simply return to yourself. You ask the question to yourself in your own way. You bring up money, and this particular response came up for you, a certain tension. So now we know what to do. The challenge can be to want to make that more complicated or think it should be different this time. But now return the attention to those responses and provide them that type of space again. And if anybody is experiencing any trouble or anything like that, of course, feel free to give feedback as well. Feels like a belt around my waist. Yeah, see, it's amazing how personal these responses are. And so what you do is you put your attention, you be very present with that feeling of the belt around the waist. You check in with it. Does it respond well to getting more space? Does it respond well to kind of being, let's say, zooming in on it? Is it responsive to any type of inquiry like, do you need something? Is there anything you need to show me? Is there anything it wants to communicate? I'm just putting that feeling is healing back up there. Backache along spine. Yeah. Yeah, remember some of these, of course, obviously some of these things are not comfortable. That's why they need, in many cases, this attention in the first place. And it should be somewhat just logical why we would distract ourselves, why we would prefer to think about money or do some type of thing that just distracts ourselves from the actual feeling. And it's not like everything else you do is useless. But remember, today we're specifically exploring the feelings that are there so that we can give them this kind of support and feeling. So you got a backache along the spine. You really want to breathe into that, kind of take a back seat of sorts to where you say, okay, what does it need? It might feel an impulse to literally adjust your posture or um, move or respond in a certain way physically. Kind of just surrender your agenda there and just let the body respond to that. And I'll give everyone a moment to stay with this. Oops, I was muted there. Let's take a deep breath. And show an appreciation internally for everything that's been willing to show itself to you. Some of it's been waiting for you for a long time. Simply listen to it in that way. Entertain this idea to yourself that this is a posture, it's a way of being, it's a way of actually relating to yourself. It's not just a technique. The more you relate to yourself this way, the more effective techniques will be. When you do a technique and feelings come up as a result of the technique, for example, visualizing, more money in your bank account, instead of being a purely visual process, it can go a lot deeper when you incorporate this with it. Something I'll be doing some more of as well. I'm going to give everyone another moment to see if you have any other feedback or things that you experienced. And you're just letting everything kind of settle in. You may have gotten some insights or seen some subject matters come up, or purely even physical responses that will warrant more of your time. I mean, I guarantee that's the case. Today's goal was to give you, especially with the group energy and this kind of format, real firsthand experience of how we introduce that and how we stay present with this more charged subject and allow these things to come up. And so someone's felt the aching feeling move from the back to kind of across the shoulders. Yeah, it's amazing what can happen. And if we can let the fact that anything at all is even happening be our barometer, that's way more motivating and ongoing than simply, okay, do I have more money now? Who knows, right? That's so easy to start judging yourself, like, oh, I did this, I don't have money. But to actually feel energy moving in your body is such immediate feedback. It can be very encouraging as you begin to see it that way. Wow, something's happening. Very powerful, palpable shift and lifting of sensations around the belly, moving up to my head now. Oh, that's great. Definitely. That's energy just moving up and out like that is an excellent sign. So obviously there's a lot more to explore with this, and as you've noticed, I've been doing more of these. We're going to get into some specifics like we did today, different aspects. They're not all going to be on YouTube. This one probably will be. Please stay connected with me. Everyone on the call live is obviously on this list, but if you're seeing the recording, innerreconciliation.com/Evan List there. Going to be doing like at least one kind of donation-based call here where we'll do kind of what we're doing here, but going into a little bit more of like the one-on-one where I'm working with somebody and really kind of getting in there around this money subject. And donation-based specifically, because that also is an interesting thing to explore what comes up with you when it's like, pay what you want. Okay, do you pay? Do I not pay? Does emotional stuff come up for you? Even that? Do you feel bad? Do you feel good? All of that stuff, right? I thought that would be fun to explore a little bit, assuming I can actually figure out how to do it. If there's a way to do it, at least I can just put up a link. But I'm going to try that. And the YouTube channel down there is innerreconciliation.com/YouTube. I think we have some more feedback come in. Oh, thank you. Somebody said I'm very skilled and appreciate your depth in this work. Oh, thanks very much. I enjoy it very much myself. Waves of heat flowing stronger as we go deeper with these feelings. Yes, yes, and there's no limit on how deep you can go. You certainly don't need to be in any particular environment really to stay kind of connected to yourself. So I'll stay on with everybody for a second. I want to thank everybody for being here. I'm going to actually stop the recording, but I'm going to stay on live for a second and ask a couple questions about what feelings might feel like you want to, or I should say what subjects, what things that came up from today might be a subject matter for the next one. So for those watching the recording, thanks very much, and please stay connected.